Hello, this is Thought for the Day for Friday the 13th of November, and today we're looking at Psalm 23. This is surely the best known of all the 150 Psalms. People who know very little of the Bible probably know Psalm 23. It's inspired countless hymns and songs and brought comfort to generations of people. Many of us will probably remember times when this psalm has spoken to us on our journey, or will have our own favourite song or hymn inspired by it. Today, I can't really offer you any new thoughts on this psalm, but it is a wonderful opportunity for us to reflect on it and to be refreshed and ask God what He's saying to us through this psalm today. Because of its familiarity, I'm going to read it firstly in the NIV, which may be the most familiar to us, and at the end, if there's time, I'll read it in the Message, which may have something new to say to us. Believe it or not, this psalm is only 6 verses long, so I think we can manage to read it twice. So in the NIV, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for You are with me. Your rod and Your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely Your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This psalm was written by David, who, before he became king, was a shepherd. He therefore knew what he was talking about. He knew what a good shepherd was, and he knew he could trust God to be his personal shepherd. He knew that with God as his shepherd, he lacked nothing. He knew that with God as his shepherd, he would be guided into green pastures when he was hungry, or next to quiet waters when he was thirsty. He knew that God would also refresh his soul and guide him on the right paths. And he knew that even when life took him through hard times, as it often does, he didn't need to be afraid. The shepherd's rod and staff mentioned may have had various uses: the rod for protecting the sheep from wild animals, the staff for guiding a sheep that was wandering off back onto the right path. David had nothing to fear. As we've often seen, David had many enemies, but he knew that in verse 5, his shepherd would not only protect and deliver him from his enemies, but would sit him down for a feast in full view of them. It's also interesting to see that David wasn't a glass half empty or half full person, but a glass running over person, someone who counted his blessings, or maybe he couldn't even count them because there were so many. 1,000 years after David wrote this psalm, his descendant Jesus described himself as the Good Shepherd in John chapter 10. I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and doesn't own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. The man runs away because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. So what can I take away from this psalm today? Firstly, the reminder that the Lord is my shepherd and your shepherd. Do we need that reassurance again today? He's got all our concerns and worries, and he knows where he's taking us. He also wants to refresh us and restore our souls, to let us lie down in green pastures and drink from still waters. We don't need to be busy all the time. I don't know how life is for you during this second lockdown. I guess for some of us there are things that we aren't doing that we would be doing if we weren't locked down. Maybe God wants to use this time to restore and refresh us before life picks up speed again. Or if our life seems just as busy now as it normally is, or even busier, then we also need to make sure we let God lead us to whatever it is that refreshes us and not feel guilty about taking time out. We can also have the same trust as David had when we're in difficult places we'd much rather not be in, that God is there to protect us. As someone has pointed out, the psalm talks about walking through the darkest valley, implying that we don't stay there forever, we come out the other side. But even when we're in the valley, we don't need to be afraid. And finally, we can know that we belong to the Good Shepherd who's promised never to abandon us and who demonstrated it by laying down his life for us. And whatever may happen to us in this life, we can know, as David knew, that we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So I'll finish by reading the Message version of this psalm, and I hope we'll have the opportunity today to take time to reflect on our own relationship with our shepherd and to ask ourselves, in what ways do I need to trust him more today? God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You've bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid, when you walk at my side. Your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. You revive my drooping head. My cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life.